All right, today we're going to talk about the greatest horses that I've ever seen. And the first great horse that I've ever seen, unquestionably, was Easy Goer. You see him here. This is him winning the 1989 Gotham Stakes. He won this race by 13 lengths from off the pace, went a mile in 132 and 2/5 with Pat Day never moving on him. Visually, there was no horse like this horse visually. I mean, he was just absolutely amazing to watch. Left a very strong impression on me. Really an influential horse in that he was really the horse that got me excited about horse racing, into horse racing, following horse racing. This is certainly one of the all-time great numbers horses. He ran 116 Beyer in the Champagne Stakes at age 2 and just always fired these unbelievable numbers, whether you're looking at Beyers, Ragozin sheets. He carried a lot of weight. He won handicaps where he gave huge weight swings to excellent horses. And a very, very interesting thing about Easy Goer and Sunday Silence, who we'll get to in a minute, they were from the largest foal crop in North American history. You see right here, this is North American foal crops by year, and they were both foaled in 1986, which had 51,296 foals. You'd see the buildup through the mid 1980s. What ended up happening in the mid to late 1980s, in through the 90s, you started to see foreign buyers, coming and buying up our best broodmares. There was a huge asset bubble in Japan in the late 1980s to early 1990s. You see here, the Japanese asset price bubble refers to a period in the late 1980s and early 1990s where the prices of stocks and real estate in Japan rapidly inflated to unsustainable levels due to excessive speculation and easy credit. The bubble is considered one of the most significant economic bubbles in history. What ended up happening is that, the Japanese were buying up everything, and they started coming to America. They bought up a lot of breeding stock, a lot of our top brood mares. And Sunday Silence was actually the best horse they ever bought from here. Now they bought AP Indy AP Indy was like the top yearling in 1990 at the Keeneland July sale. They bought him, and he almost went to Japan, but they decided to leave him in America. So you had the Japanese buying up mares like crazy, and at the same time that the Japanese start buying up American men. You've got the oil sheiks, and they end up being more significant than the Japanese even. So this is Sheikh Mohammed of the United Arab Emirates here. This was July of 1986. He says, "We're coming to the USA. We are coming slowly. We do not wish to rush, but we will be there." He's doing the same thing as the Japanese. I mean, he's just buying, he starts with buying up mares, and then he's buying up top yearlings, and, he's buying up any good bloodstock he could get from America. And you also have some changes in U.S. tax laws, too. That's like the third factor, that caused this just steady dwindle of mares being bred in the United States. And, I think the 2024 full crop is only like 18,000 horses. So in 2024, you've only got 18,000 horses in the full crop in North America, where in the Easy Goer Sunday Silence year, 51,296. And this is before, the Japanese and the oil sheiks kind of poached a lot of the premium bloodstock. You take a look at the past performances of a horse named Prized here. So Prize in July 23rd of 89, he beats Sunday Silence in the Swap Stakes at Hollywood Park. This was a 1.25 mile race. Charlie Whittingham said going into this race that, Sunday Silence had a hard campaign in the Triple Crown and, probably wasn't at his peak to go 1.25 miles. He was just getting a race in him here. Prize runs him down. With Sunday Silence, they kind of took it easy after the Triple Crown. They brought him back in the swaps. I think from the swaps, they went to the Super Derby at Louisiana Downs and into the Breeders' Cup Classic. The strategy there was, was to give Sunday Silence a real easy summer and have him at his peak for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now you see Prize beats Sunday Silence in the swaps, runs next in the Molson Million. That was like Woodbine's big open race. The Molson Million, wins the Molson Million over the top Canadian champion, Charlie Barley. And then he goes to meet Easy Goer in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, 7-horse field. He gets beat 24 lengths. I mean, you run against Easy Goer going a mile and a half at Belmont, and that's not you're in deep water there. But Prize got beat so decisively in this race that they said we're going to skip the Breeders' Cup Classic, and instead we're going to try him on the turf in the Breeders' Cup turf. Prize had never run on the turf before, but he comes back in 3 weeks after this drubbing here, and he wins the Breeders' Cup turf. You're not going to see an American dirt horse who's never run on the grass before, just show up in the Breeders' Cup turf and win that race. I mean, that's like in modern racing, that's not going to happen anymore because of all the oil sheiks bought our good American stock. And if you take a look at Easy Goer's 3-year-old season here, he starts off at Gulfstream in the Swale. He wins the Swale by 9 going away, wins the Gotham by 13 lengths, wins the Wood, second to Sunday Silence in the Kentucky Derby. Now, this was on a muddy track at Churchill. For whatever reason, Easy Goer run twice on a muddy track at Churchill. Both times he ran like 15 to 20 points below his usual figure. So you see here, he won the Champagne with 116 buyer as a 2-year-old. Is it true he beat by 4 lengths that day? Just as clear-cut and decisive a victory at 10 cents on a dollar as you'll see. He beat Is It True down here, beat Is It True down here. But on the muddy track at Churchill, Is It True jumped up and beat him. It was 8 lengths back to the 3rd place finisher in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But for whatever reason, on a muddy track at Churchill, Easy Goer struggled with it, and Pat Day insisted that he hated the track. Like, he just felt like, in both of those races, he just completely was spinning his wheels. From there, you got the Preakness Stakes, second beating the nose to Sunday Silence, is one of the greatest races in history. I mean, in the wide world of sports on ABC for 15, 20 years after that race went on, they would always use that race in their promo, the stretch duel of that race, and not one of Pat Day's finest rides. He got outrode in that race. Then the Belmont Stakes at a mile and a half. Easy Goer gets his revenge in the race, beats Sunday Silence by 8 lengths. And this race was the second fastest Belmont in history at 2:26, but nowhere near Secretariat's 2:24 final time. However, if you look at the Ragozin sheets, believe it or not, the Ragozin sheets had Easy Goer's Belmont figure the exact same as Secretariat's Belmont figure. They ran identical numbers in their 2 Belmont. The reason for that is there's a wind correction in Ragozin's formula. So this would be like a 20 minutes if I got into this, but there was a very, very strong wind when Secretariat won the Belmont. And of course, anyone that knows anything about Belmont knows that all the races shorter than a mile and a half are run around 1 turn. Forgo, of course, the great Forgo won an allowance race around 1 turn that day, and he ran an extremely fast time running into the teeth of a very strong headwind. If you believe, the Ragozin figures variant, they had the track much slower overall the day that Easy Goer won this in 2:26 than the day Secretariat won it in 2:24. That's a discussion I don't want to get into. I mean, that's another topic for another day. But after this Belmont Stakes, with Sunday Silence here, Whittingham took the approach just an easy summer. Sunday Silence actually didn't run at Del Mar, but he had a 1 mile workout at Del Mar that many Southern California, well, I shouldn't say many, I know 2 Southern California clockers who have called Sunday Silence 1 mile workout at Del Mar the greatest workout that they've ever seen. So, Sunday Silence really didn't do a whole lot. He got beat in the swap stakes. He went to Louisiana Downs for the Super Derby. He run like Byers at just 106 and 107 in those 2 races. But he did turn in some remarkable AM workouts in his summer campaign at 3. But Whittingham was trying to get him to peak in the Breeders' Cup Classic, where Shug, this is a Phipps horse. In these New York races, these races like, the Champagne, the Gotham, the Wood, the Belmont, the Travers, the Whitney, the Woodward, the Jockey Club, these are very, very important NYRA races. And you looked at the people who owned Easy Goer. Those races are very important to them. They were tied into the NYRA establishment. So, there was no plan with Easy Goer to kind of lay off and give him an easy summer. He went from the Belmont Stakes into the Whitney Handicap against top older horses. And, he went up by 4.5 and just missed the track record. And it was just a visually stunning performance. From there, he went to the Travers. Clever Trevor got loose on the lead and run a huge race, but he just completely ate him alive in the stretch. And it was the 3rd place finisher was beaten 12 lengths. Goes to the Woodward, goes to the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Jockey Club Gold Cup was 1.5 miles. That was where he destroyed Prize. It was a 7-horse field. Crypto Clearance, a really good, really, really good older horse. And, was the sire of Victory Gallop, who won the Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles at Belmont. He sired a Breeders' Cup Classic winner as well, Volponi. But Crypto Clearance kind of gave him a race that day, but it was 19.5 between 2nd and 3rd in a 7-horse field. So Forever Silver and Prize run 3rd and 4th, but they were both beaten like 25 lengths. And, of course they had to track a little bit on the slow side that day. Go to Breeders' Cup Classic at Gulfstream. 126 buyers. Sunday Silence just exploded. I mean, he was like this giant killer with the great Charlie Whittingham training him. He jumped up, beat Easy Goer here on the big day. One of the great races. Now, Easy Goer broke from the rail and ducked in and tried to make the gap. The Preakness I always felt was like Pat Day rider error. The Breeders' Cup Classic, it wasn't so much Day that, Easy Goer may have got himself beat that day, but just an amazing record as a 3-year-old. You've got 12 races, 9 wins, 3 seconds. Each of his seconds was the Sunday Silence, and just remarkable numbers in all these races except for the Derby. Remarkable performance race after race. A truly, truly great horse. Of course, the second great horse that I saw in my time following racing was Sunday Silence, and he had like a tough run. He almost died twice. He had some virus that almost killed him as a baby. And then when he was going to California at age 2, he was heading out from Kentucky, where the Hancocks had him at Stone Farm, to California, where he's going to be with Whittingham. And, the van driver suffered a heart attack and the van overturned. So his driver suffers a heart attack. He almost dies again. I mean, this horse almost got killed twice. Van rolls over. He's in this van going from Kentucky to California. The driver has a heart attack. The van's overturned. Of course, those 2 brushes with death does not stop Sunday Silence, but it kind of, maybe it puts him a little behind in his. He was not so much a great 2-year-old. He was a horse that, took a little longer to come around. He wasn't running 116 buyers at age 2. But his breakout race was the Santa Anita Derby at age 3. He ran an unbelievable race in the Santa Anita Derby. And of course, like the legendary trainer Alan Jerkins got the nickname Giant Killer. But for all the great horses I've seen, the horse that I would call the Giant Killer was Sunday Silence, because he did have that head-to-head record against Easy Goer, where in 4 matchups he beat him 3 times. And Whittingham is a phenomenal trainer, legendary trainer, and he did a great job getting Sunday Silence, to be at his peak at the right time. A lot of times when you're rating and evaluating horses, it kind of goes to the frame of mind of the person rating them and evaluating them. And for a lot of people, the big races, the big matchups are everything. Like, who cares what you did in the Gotham Stakes? Like that performance was like, no one cares. It's the Gotham Stakes. The Champagne Stakes, no one cared. Coincidentally and irrelevantly, the great Secretariat, he lost the Wood Memorial, the Whitney, and the Woodward. Now, he had a share of excuses in those races. Secretariat had a tooth abscess in the Wood Memorial and run a real flat race, and they went over. They found the tooth abscess. They corrected the tooth abscess, and Secretariat, when he went to the Kentucky Derby, was just a brand new horse. I mean, he literally ran his Wood Memorial with a nasty tooth abscess that was undiagnosed until after the race. In the Whitney, Secretariat broke through the gate before the race. A lot of horses will break through the gate and just not fire. I mean, it takes a lot of pressure to open those gates. It'd be like getting punched in the mouth and then having to run a race. I mean, it's the tooth got Secretariat beat. The tooth abscess got Secretariat beat in the Wood Memorial. In the Whitney, it was probably breaking through the gate that cost him that race. And then he got beat by Prove Out in the Woodward. But anyway, those 3 races that Secretariat were defeated in, Easy Goer, dominating performances, dominating numbers. In totality, Easy Goer just had numerous great performances. If you're a numbers guy, numerous times he run great numbers. Unfortunately, when he run at Churchill Downs, he caught those muddy tracks that he according to Pat Day, just spun his wheels on. And, you look at numbers and you understand it's as clear as crystal that he didn't like those tracks. But head-to-head matchups are important. Sunday Silence, a truly great horse. And if anyone wants to rank him above Easy Goer, I think that's the general consensus. Hey, go ahead. I've got no qualms with anyone that wants to put him ahead of Easy Goer. But for me, in totality, Easy Goer was the better horse. Sunday Silence, by the way, gets bought up by Japan, and it just becomes an incredible stallion in Japan. These were the first 2 great horses that I've seen, and this horse. A lot of times when you ask someone to rate the greatest horse they ever seen, there's going to be a bias of impression, and no horse really made a stronger impression on me than this horse here. After Easy Goer and Sunday Silence, the next true great horse that I saw was Cigar. Jerry Bailey, the great jockey Jerry Bailey, always said Cigar was the best horse he ever rode. And Cigar rattled off 16 wins in a row. When he faced Holy Bull at Gulfstream, Holy Bull broke down in that race, but that would have been just an incredible matchup, at Holy Bull. But that just would have been an incredible matchup at Holy Bull, not gone wrong there. Cigar was honestly a mismanaged horse. He broke his maiden going 6 furlongs at Hollywood Park on the dirt. And he got a buyer. It was like the week of the Preakness during his 3-year-old season. He's a 3-year-old. In this 6-furlong maiden special weight race, he gets a buyer figure that I believe might have even been like 4 points higher than the Preakness got. I want to say it was the 93 Preakness that was run that same week. Now, off a performance like that, you'd think you keep going on to the dirt with him, but Cigar had grass breeding, and Alex Hassinger had him. And Alex Hassinger tried to make this horse a grass horse. I don't know if it was just his belief because of the breeding, but Cigar was just mediocre grass horse. He run start after start after start on grass and just kept getting beat. And finally, he goes to New York with Bill Mott. Bill Mott eventually takes him off the grass and onto the dirt, and he's just running off the screen. And this was a horse that hated the grass. He just has this like excellent dirt sprint when like going 6 furlongs. In May of his 3-year-old season, doesn't even break good. Clearly, he's not a sprinter, but he runs this great number, runs this big performance on dirt, and he's just moved to the grass immediately after that, and he sucked. Like, he sucked on the grass, relative to what he was as a dirt horse, but comes back to the dirt, rattles off 16 wins, has a perfect season, capped off with a Breeders' Cup Classic win at Belmont. Definitely a truly great dirt horse. We'll put it that way. The next truly great horse I saw was Skipaway, absolute iron horse. The one time Mike Smith rode him, he won the Breeders' Cup Classic by like 6 lengths and just made this extremely early move and destroyed the field. I mean, Sonny Hine, a guy that Bob Baffert called Elmer Fudd, was the trainer of this horse. And, Hine campaigned his horses very tough, and I give extra credit for that. It's what I like to see. And, Skipaway defeated Cigar at age 3, when Cigar was by far and away the top older horse and looked invincible. And, he had this great win streak as an older horse. And, he was just a tough iron horse who on his day was just very, very tough to beat. This was such a great horse here.
It is Louis Quatorze and Skipaway, and they are inseparable as they turn for home with Cigar, an imposing presence in behind them. They turn for home, and Skipaway has taken the lead. It is Skipaway in front, Louis Quatorze down inside, Cigar bearing down on them. He's a length behind Skipaway with 1 furlong to go. Skipaway, tough customer today. Jerry Bailey fully extending Cigar. Skipaway might pull it off. Here comes Cigar. Cigar wanders to the outside. Skipaway, here's the finish, and it is. I believe Skipaway got it. I believe Skipaway has defeated Cigar today. Shane Sellers thinks so. It was very close.
Of course, Ghostzapper was another truly great horse. I saw, and to me, he was the greatest raw talent since Easy Goer was Ghostzapper. Run 128 buyer in the Islin, won the Breeders' Cup Classic with 124 buyer. It was just this great numbers horse, but he was a horse that Bobby Frankel, really carefully managed. He had a great trainer in Bobby Frankel, and Frankel, was really careful in his management of this horse. I did not see a better talent than him until Flightline. I would say Flightline had more pure talent than Ghostzapper, and on pure talent, the 3 horses that stand out to me, Flightline, Ghostzapper, and Easy Goer. Now, Flightline didn't have a great number of starts. Ghostzapper didn't either, and was like carefully managed. I don't think Ghostzapper ever ran more than like 5 starts in a season. There's no doubt about it. Ghostzapper just had insane talent. American Pharaoh, truly great horse. Broke the Triple Crown jinx. It seemed like it was going to be forever until the next Triple Crown winner. He comes along and breaks it for Bob Baffert. Wins the Breeders' Cup Classic with just a gigantic number in dominating fashion. A very compelling case could be made for him. In the top 4 that I've seen. Maybe there is a little bit of bias against him because Baffert had so much magic, especially with dirt horses. But this was the best of the Baffert dirt horses. And, this horse is top 4 for raw talent. And he wasn't babied or nothing. Baffert had him dance all the dances. He brought him to Saratoga. Baffert brought him to Saratoga where he got upset in the Travers by Keen Ice. But I mean, American Pharaoh, Baffert had a horse named Arrogate, who for about 3 races run 3 of the most phenomenal, unbelievable races. You know, the Travers, the Breeders' Cup Classic. It was actually 4 incredible, unbelievable races. Then he went in won the Pegasus, and then he went to the World Cup and got left at the gate in the World Cup, blew the start, and still won that race. So for a 4-race stretch, Arrogate, you know, is right up there with anyone. But before those 4 races and after those 4 races, you know, he for whatever reason, Baffert had him in another galaxy for those 4 races. But I would say American Pharaoh was the best. I would say that you'd have to rate American Pharaoh the best of the Baffert horses over Arrogate and over Justify, who was an extreme talent and a Triple Crown winner, but like Justify in totality didn't run, you know, a high volume of great performances or anything like that. But he was like one of those 3 Baffert horses that were just, but he was just like another phenomenal Baffert horse. Holy Bull and Curlin are the 2 other horses I saw that I would definitely consider great horses. Gunrunner, you could maybe put in there with them. Holy Bull, interestingly, in the Kentucky Derby, there were, you know, I'm not going to get into that in this video, but there was a lot of speculation that they got to Holy Bull in the Kentucky Derby. I'll just touch on the Holy Bull Derby conspiracy briefly here, but you know, this is what I wrote about that. It's on to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby. Normally a great AM workhorse, Holy Bull works 6 furlongs in a moderate 114.60, and the professional clockers hated the workout. The clocker said his gallop out was bad, and they claimed that several other horses worked much better that morning. The 8-5 favorite on the morning line, the Bull opened up at 4-1 odds and held at that price until big money for him finally started to roll in from the form handicappers the day of the race. Normally a great gate horse, Holy Bull broke slow and did not flash his usual brilliant early speed. He managed to beat only 2 horses in the Derby. It was a sad performance from a genuinely great horse. You know, but if a speed horse misses the break in the slop, those type of non-efforts can happen. They get a lot of slop kicked in their eyes and they don't fire. Many months later, Jimmy Kroll was visited by an FBI agent who questioned him about Holy Bull on Derby week. Kroll told the investigators that a few people, including Charlie Whittingham, said that they saw someone messing with his horse. Kroll claimed that Whittingham told him that someone got to his horse and gave him something, but Kroll didn't worry about it. He told Whittingham that the horse has more fans than the Pope, and people show up uninvited at his stall and give him candy all the time. The FBI agent told Kroll that the horse was given halcyon tablets by someone who worked for veterinarian Alex Hardhill. The DEA eventually filed charges against Hardhill for illegally possessing over 4,000 tablets of halcyon. Was Holy Bull really drugged the week of the Derby? Who knows? But just 3 weeks later, the Bull entered against top older horses in the Met Mile at Belmont. He won in sensational fashion with a 136 Equibase and 122 Beyer figure. You know, so the Derby was like, the Kentucky Derby performance was like this great stain, you know, on Holy Bull's resume. But, you know, there was, there was quite the conspiracy theory, you know, regarding his performance in that race. Obviously, it's very, very, very tough to compare horses, you know, across generations and stuff. But, you know, among the ones I saw, Flightline, just so much pure raw talent. You know, winning the Pacific Classic by almost 20 lengths, winning the Breeders' Cup Classic by over 8 lengths after hooking a real good horse in Life is Sweet and just putting him away and staying on so impressively. These races down here in Southern California were unbelievable. You know, he goes to the Met and, you know, has an excuse at the start, you know, kind of breaks bad from the rail and still wins. Flightline unquestionably, Flightline has to be considered, among the greatest horses I've ever seen, and probably the greatest raw talent. And his raw talent was probably unmatched. If I'm ranking these horses, let's do a top five here. For me, it's between Flightline and Easy Goer. Just both of them left the strongest impressions on me. Yeah, so if we're going to do my simple, honest, no bullshit rankings among where I have the greatest horses that I've ever seen, and of course there is probably a bias of impression involved here. Flightline and Easy Goer are the horses that are 1-2. You could put them in any order you want. We'll go Flightline 1, Easy Goer 2. We'll put Skipaway 3, Sunday Silence 4. We'll go Ghostzapper 5, American Pharaoh 6, Cigar 7, Holy Bull 8, and that really is just my honest rankings. If you have a difference of opinion with it, I mean, those are my honest rankings. If you have a difference of opinion with it, I completely understand. It's a hard thing to do to compare horses across, different generations. But among my time following, I think those are the 8 standouts.